It is an Asian Cup special with a difference today as Tilly's Fever recaptures the nation once again. We wanted to take a look at a new generation of fans, some new look fans that are coming in to spread the word of football. So joining me today is Gabby Talks W Sport. And Gabby, firstly, how are you and what does it mean to have the Tillies back at a major tournament?
Yes, I'm good. Just got back from training. I got rained on, but it's all good now. But no, I think having the Matildas back, I am beyond excited. I think it's the same adrenaline and excitement as an Aussie, like the Women's World Cup in 2023. So I think I'm just beyond excited. I'm going to the game in Sydney, so I'm very excited.
Yeah. I'm sure we're all booking our tickets and getting involved. Certainly from a media perspective, we might have a bit more going on, but that's it's all part of the fun, hey. So I guess just talk to me. I mean, you mentioned 2023 right there. So I've noticed you're really big on sort of social media, TikTok, really getting the word out about women's sport in general. I saw you're posting about the Olympics as well, but particularly with the Matildas in
Yes.
2023. So where does that all start?
Yeah, so I think that was probably the first tournament where I had like social media and I started my account. So I started them when I was like in year 10, and I think it was just when the Women's World Cup started. And I, one, was excited as a young female myself and an athlete that has done all sorts of sports. I think it was just, I don't know, it was kind of like it was like, it made me happy, emotional. Like, I don't know how to really put it to words, but I was just really in awe having these amazing women coming from everywhere. Like, you've got your lionesses that came together, but the Matildas, well, I was like, yay. So I think, no, I was just really excited. I was very certain to speak on anything and everything that was going on in that tournament. I think, pre Women's World Cup, definitely not as big women's sports as a whole, which is very sad to say. But I think, yeah, I was just really excited to be able to promote the word out and really just try to be, I don't know, just another person talking about the women's game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. It's honestly awesome because I think the one thing that really stood out to me as someone who, I've been watching the Matildas for the better part of 15 or 16 years, right? I'm nearly in my 30s for context, so, but no, I've sort of seen the cause grow firsthand, right? And I think just having someone like yourself around, where I saw the official account reposted something of yours, and I was just like, this is so awesome because you're just in a field that's so rare for me, to see people who play the game, love the game, and to then be able to speak out about it, and especially younger females and people on TikTok and things like that. Like, it's a world that's foreign to my own, but that's exactly why I wanted your perspective and wanted to bring you in. So no, that's really, really awesome. So I take it your experience with the Asian Cup and kind of understanding a lot of the 11 other teams that are here. I mean, have you been researching a lot? Do you watch, because I assume you watch a lot of the teams in England and things like that, where they have some of the Japanese players. So where does your experience come with understanding this tournament that's about to be held?
Like, if I'm being completely honest, I've really been trying to research. I feel like trying to see where those players are playing club, I think gives you a better understanding of what I think personally those players are also bringing to then their national team. I have not really been too like, I know the history of the Asian Cup. Like, I was looking at it before a couple of weeks ago. You have China that won it 7 years consecutively and then won the latest one in 2022. And then, you've got your Japan that is just, those tactic skills that they have just wows me always. I'm always like looking, I'm like, wow, Dad, I wish I could do this. Like, what's going on? But like, more on like the tactical side, if I'm being completely honest, like, I think I haven't been too involved with really understanding the players. I feel like that's so, I think, frustrating on my behalf because I so should be. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool though to just be around more of it and have the opportunity to see some of these players, because I think it's one thing that you touch on the history there, and I distinctly remember telling people constantly during the Women's World Cup, like it's really worth your time to research the history of what it was like, because when you go back to like the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, it was hard enough for men that played soccer, you know, from migrant communities and backgrounds, let alone the women's teams that went out and represented our country, and just the incredible pioneers that they were. So I think that's really cool, and I think the Asian Cup, particularly as a tournament, because when you look at the likes of China, both North and South Korea, these countries have always been very equal. Like women have always had an opportunity, and that's where I think having these countries in our backyard and being able to put them on a stage where you can play in, you know, a 60,000 seater stadium in Perth, an 80,000 seater stadium in Sydney. It's an inherently really beautiful thing. So yeah, I mean, honestly, to watch and to learn, I think from your perspective is really honestly quite cool as well, to experience that. So. I guess again for you personally, but again with that look towards the tournament, who are your favourite Matildas? Like, who is it that you're just so excited to see?
I've got too many, that's my problem. But I think if we don't talk about like our core players, like, you know, your Sam Kerr, Ellie Carpenter, Caitlin Ford, like you could just list them for hours, like truly. But I would really say I'm really excited to see Winnie Heatley and what she can bring to the squad. Like, maybe a hot take, but I truly believe she deserves a starting role. I know she plays number 4, or, you know, sometimes defensive mid or like centre back. But I really, like, I just think when I saw her one of the Matildas games, I was just like, she's so composed. Like, I see a lot of, like, her brain really moves. Like, she knows how to read the plays. So I think she's a player that I wouldn't say is as big, or that people aren't giving enough attention to, and I think they should be. So I'm really excited to see her. And then also, like, I don't know if, like, Jada Wyman's going to get any game time, but just seeing her and, like, Charlie Rule, who I watched them at Sydney FC in, you know, a couple years ago, and then now they've gone overseas and whatnot. So I think those are my 3 players that I would say I'm very excited to just see get minutes, whether that's 1 or whatever. I'm really excited. I feel like they are your smaller players coming through that are getting the opportunity because they are talented. So I'm really excited to see how the Matildas incorporate them.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to hear that from your perspective, though, because like I said, I've been watching this team for a decade and a half, and I can tell you right now, the one thing that sticks out to me is this is like the golden generation that kind of were bred out of the 2011 squad at that World Cup, like the likes of your Sam Kerrs and so forth. For a lot of those players to now have sort of gone through the A-League system, seen the women's game professionalised, and then come to where they're at, where the Tillies are just so, you know, so famous, right? A lot of those players are really at the twilight of their career. And so for me, the big question becomes about, like, the rotation. You know, there are so many women that are going to have the opportunity to stand up and make senior players of themselves. Caitlin Torpey is one that we love in the A-League for many years, Holly McNamara. And I just think that it's so interesting to hear you say that it's about the transition. It's about these lesser players coming through, because it so obviously is. Like, the team needs to kind of move on to that second generation. And it's just so interesting that your perspective is a lot fresher than mine, but we're coming to the same conclusion.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But yeah, no, just to add on that, that's exactly, I think, past couple of years, and like after the Women's World Cup, I think the Olympics was hard, and, you know, the games after that was definitely a big shift in the Matildas, and there was definitely, you know, they didn't understand, you know, it was a bit challenging. And I think I had many conversations with people, and I was just going, I think we need to stop relying on that core 11, and we need to start bringing in players from the A-League and just who are playing overseas, who are showing week in and week out that they deserve a chance. Not only do they deserve to be there, but to just get the chance to show a broader audience their capabilities was something that I was getting quite, not angry, but I was getting quite, like, frustrated about, because I was like, there's so many players that, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could go on about all these players that deserve just to be there, to be in the atmosphere, to be in the team, you know, to be in the building, and to then get a chance. And I feel like, you know, Winnie Heatley and all these players, it's like, give them a chance and they'll step up and show you why they need to be there. So I think with the whole rotation as well, it's just like, there's too many injuries that can happen. It's very unpredictable sports. And I think we need to start having other players that we can also rely on. So, yeah.
Another element of this tournament is obviously, having that right and that privilege of being able to host it and see some other teams. So I know you mentioned there as well, you've got your tickets booked for the Matildas in Sydney, and I'm sure you'll be keen to get to the knockout games and things like that as well. But what will it be like for you will you be going to any of the other sort of games involving any other teams to see that firsthand?
I'm hoping to.
Okay.
I am going to have my ticket app open. I don't have any as of now. I think I've only got Matildas v Philippines.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm really sure. But I'll be tuning in.
Yep.
Don't you worry. I'll be watching the highlights as soon as they come out. Like, I'm so engulfed in it that I'm so excited. Just also because it's like on our time zone as well.
Yep.
Like, to a degree. Like, I think it's also just easier to be able to see the live scores coming in. I'm not needing to stay up till too late in the morning or waking up at like 4 a.m. So I think that's what I'm really excited. But also just like, I was just looking on socials before and just seeing, how all the watch parties, and they're doing that again. And it's giving me such deja vu of the World Cup that it makes me like, I'm just smiling about it. Like, it makes me so excited because I'm like, that also brought together like a wider community, people that either couldn't get tickets or just didn't want to trek out. Like, it's sometimes a big effort, like the traffic, like, but even just seeing people come together at, because I can now go to the club and the pubs, even being able to do that, because I saw some, pubs are doing that. So I'm like, well, that's exciting because I can go with my friends. I'm already texting my friends going, guys, we're watching every single game. Let's go. So I think that, but I need to try to get more tickets. I don't as of now. It was hard. It was so hard to get tickets. But this is what makes me happy, that it is hard. Like, I think, we go back to that. And I think, complaining, but it's like, I know you've been involved in it for many more years, but when I first went to my first Matildas game in like 2021, there was maybe 10,000, 15,000 fans. And I thought that was incredible. I've never seen so many women football fans in one spot at one time. So that made me so happy. And, they would come around and speak to all of you. And it's now not like that. But I'm so happy that it's so much more worldwide. And, you've got people traveling into Australia. You've got everyone. So it makes me very happy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for sure. And I guess the other angle I kind of wanted to take from this was I do feel like this is a really good opportunity for, I guess, our worlds to collide a little bit. Just the history and the like media presence that someone like us at Roundball Australia have, and then your sort of, because again, I personally, I don't use TikTok, but I definitely see the appeal of it, and I see all the rage about it, and stuff like, them releasing like a hit single for the tournament and things like this, where that is just like, it's the perfect platform for it. So I think as someone who does have an account and who is trying to share that, do you think that demographic, is going to be an area and a platform for not just like the Matildas to grow, because everyone's already kind of obsessed with them, but actually just this wider conversation of how can we grow all levels of women's soccer and women's sport? Because it's the conversation is, it's lovely that we can sit here and have this about a big professional tournament, but when it comes to the A-League women, when it comes to, women who are playing in sort of niche leagues across the country, that platform should be there for them to grow. So is that something that you feel just as passionate about as well?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. And I think what I've just learned is the fact, I think the good thing about TikTok is I think it brings in, like you're saying, a lot of the younger generation. And I feel like that's what everyone's talking about. So I think when, you've got people on TikTok, I think it's just a easier way to connect. I think the content on TikTok is a lot more informal than your Instagram and your even podcasting to a certain degree. But I feel like TikTok, you can see a lot more snippets, funnier moments. Like, I think it's a easier platform to kind of make your own narrative, if that makes any sense. But no, I think when I started my socials, that was the first thing. I didn't have Instagram. I started right on TikTok. I said, well, I I'm on TikTok. Everyone around me's on TikTok. I was, a young teenager, and I was like, well, everyone's on TikTok. This is the place to do it. So yeah, no, I think I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but I think it is the place to be. And like you said, it helps promote the game out just worldwide. And like, looking at the French league, like I feel like because we can't even stream, like when Ellie Carpenter was at Lyon, we couldn't easily stream those games and watch that. But I would then go on TikTok and see highlights that people were posting. And I think TikTok became such an easier way to just post anything women's sports, but in particular football. And also like with the time zones and whatnot, I think I would be able to wake up and just see all the fresh things coming through on TikTok, whether on your YouTube. I would have to sit there and like allow the game to be downloaded and then posted. And that sometimes like I'm still looking at games from a couple of days ago that are only coming out now. So I think just the fact that the platform's a lot more faster and it's in a way easier to post content on it. Like I think, I do my videos, I just like edit them on there. I think, I could be on the train to uni or doing something and I'm just doing it. Like it's a lot more convenient and easy. And I think that's where I grasp all my knowledge to a certain extent is on TikTok. Maybe it's sad that is the case. I feel like, you know what I mean? The traditional media is, your TV, turn on the TV or, so I feel like to a degree, people are like, oh, it shouldn't be like that. But I think I'm thankful that it is because younger kids my age are stumbling across my socials, but also just other women in football. And I'm like, this is how it should be. There's such a better way of getting out. And even like, you look at all just the women's footballers, they all have their socials. They've all got their TikTok. They're like posting funny and relatable content, which makes people go, wait, who is this? They're in a football kit. This person plays for Chelsea. Oh my goodness. And then, that's how you, like as simple and as easy as that is, I feel like TikTok hasn't been abused enough within women's football.
No, beautifully said. I think it's again just. I think there's just a lot of like over kind of complication. Where for me, it's just like, why is it cool to sit there and do like a 10-second dance and it's like a trend and whatever? Like I just don't get it. But I see that simple is fun. It's you simplify things, you peel it back. And then you can sit there and scroll through it, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed, and like I get it. So yeah, and I think it's just so cool because I come from a line of I have 4 older sisters, right? And I'll never forget during the World Cup. I want to say it was because I was flying back from over east, and it must have actually been the third place playoff against Sweden. And my sister puts a post out on maybe her IG or her Facebook or something like this, and she's just like basically being like, one of my nieces was asking for something Matildas related because she wanted to go to like Book Week or something, in the Matildas theme, and I was just thinking, oh well, this is just the perfect opportunity for me because I've been surrounded by the team and everything like that, and I got one of the official like training kits in her size. And I flew back over and, I gave it to her, and it was really cool because it was also the first time anyone in my family has really shown an interest in football as well. So, no, it was really, really nice to just have that moment and have that connection with her. And she's not an overly sporty girl, right? So for her to have really been won over by them, that was a moment for me where I really had to sit back and be like I understood it. It took the whole country by storm, but listen, like, when we go back in this tournament, the Asian Cup, when we go back not even 2 cycles ago, so 8 years ago, the tournament was in Jordan, which is a country in the Middle East, right? And the whole theme of the tournament was about, again, empowering women in a region where you just don't really have the platform to do that. And it was one of the most beautiful football tournaments that I've ever really consumed and been a part of. But the women's game has already gone so far. Like, that was only an 8-team tournament. And the Matildas, very famously, they played a warm-up game against Thailand, beat them 5-0, and then ended up having a lot of wobbles throughout the tournament and took that same Thailand team all the way to penalties in the semi-final. And I just, reflecting on that, and then within 5 years, this World Cup is being held, and my niece is sitting here asking for, Matilda's gear, and it really emotionally threw me away. I was like, I can't believe how big this team has come, because again, that tournament, it was in the Middle East, it was on like one of the backwater Fox Sports channels. There must have been like 600, 700 people watching these games on TV. Like, it's really, really niche, and just it's just incredible how far they've come. But also, especially because it's mostly still the same team. Like Mackenzie Arnold, very, very famously had a bit of a slip up against Japan and kind of ruined the performance in the final. And it was her all those years later that were making those saves against France and became literally this cult hero overnight, So I think the big message for me is just, we want to maintain that spread and that love, and we want to keep the game in the public psyche. And I think for me, when we talk about legacies with, hosting an Olympic Games, hosting a World Cup, hosting a Nation Cup, for me, that legacy just has to be about exactly what you spoke about there, Gabby. Maintaining that interest, maintaining that love, having the fan sites back and everything. So I guess just to start to conclude the conversation a little bit here, what are you most looking forward to in terms of, like, obviously the Matildas, how far you think the Matildas will go, but also just personally in your life, in your career, what are you most looking forward to getting involved? Is it going up with your friends watching a game, or, what's the big ticket item?
Yeah, look, I'm nervous for the Matildas. If I'm being completely honest, I'm very nervous. Like, I feel like I don't want to put too much out there. But no, I think we've got such potential. Like, we know that. I think us, or as Aussies, we know that the Matildas are amazing. I just really hope they, really push through. And I think with it being on home soil, it's definitely going to help. It's going to give them that just extra push. But no, I definitely I haven't come to a prediction in my head of really how we're going to go, because I need to see that first game and kind of understand how, our coach Joe, and how he's going to be more, just how his tactics are going to be. But I don't know. So I'm not really sure with like how we're going to go as a team. I hope the best, and I really hope we win it. And I think that will definitely help the momentum of the game yet again. And I think it's just going to skyrocket women's football in Australia. Like, I know this is bringing it up from yonks ago, but also talking about like the A-League, I think that's a great opportunity to further push the A-League, which I think was a missed opportunity in the Women's World Cup. I could go on and get too angry about, because I think there was a big disconnect, because, the A-League used to be a very respected league, and they still are. I think on the women's side, I think that it's been very up and down over the past couple of years. Sad hearing I think every other woman in the A-League has a second job. And that's just, like, even the men's, like, I'm sure, but I think it's just very sad to see that these are our big performing athletes and they have a side, like another job that is probably their main income. But no, so I'm really excited for the Matildas. I'm just excited for that adrenaline, and I hope they get that as well. Like, I'm just really excited for them. And no, I think moving forward for me, I'm just excited to get my friends together. I think during the World Cup, I was that one person on that group chat going, guys, so I'll see you at the park. Like, they've got the screen out. I go, we're watching the Matildas. I was like, bring some blankets. I'll bring some snacks. So I think just keeping that, because even making sure that my circle is still aware and still engaged and knowing women athletes. Like, I'm around all women, like, all my friends are girls. Funny you saying you have 4 sisters. I've got 4 brothers. So I have definitely fended for myself, but even making sure to get them involved and understanding kind of the hardships that women in sports as a whole, but especially football in Australia that we've had to face. I go, I try to make them understand, like, even I've faced things as just someone playing at a grassroots level, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm really trying to get people behind it. So I think I'm just really excited of just my word of mouth really yapping on during this whole tournament. I've already been telling my parents, I'm like, guys, like, I'm getting them all jerseys. I'm making sure they're like all wearing one of my different Australian jerseys. I was like, guys, we're getting the fam together, we're getting the friends together. So just making sure I'm pushing out the word, something I'm really excited to do because I also just have a pure enjoyment as a fan. I'm as big as a fan as I am as like a creator or someone that also promotes the game in a more professional way. I'm also the crazy lady screaming when we score a goal. So it's like trying to blend both of those together really excites me.
No worries, Gabby. Well, absolute pleasure to have you on. And again, it's Gabby Talks W Sport across TikTok,
Yes.
Instagram. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
No worries at all. Well, thanks so much for your time, and yeah, go the Tillies.
Yes. Thank you.